it automatically starts.
View impacts a story, and the book, or multiple books that may be about the same thing, but from a different point of view. When I was thinking about how to approach this lesson, I thought to kind of make it personal, and how we tell our own stories and how other people in our lives might tell that same story. So one of the stories, one of the things that sticks out in my head that I remember the most, that other people in my life remember, was September 11th, 2001. Some of you, none of you were around for that, but some of you may be familiar with what happened. So I'm just going to read a couple short books that have different points of view about those events, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit more about it. And then there's this last one that is more information. Okay, it talks about the towers. It has pictures. It talks about the other attacks. So I'm not going to read this book because that would take the rest of our reading period. But looking at it, you understand that these all offer different points of view, right, of the same event. My point of view of the event was I was a sophomore in high school. I was sitting in my French class when somebody came down the hallway and told us to turn on the TV. Something had happened, and you can see. It was obviously very scary. I also remember later in the day I was babysitting, and I think the boy was probably 6, maybe 7, and one thing that sticks out to me is he asked me what had happened. And as a sophomore in high school, it was very difficult for me to put into words and tell a 7-year-old in a way that he would understand what had happened that day. So obviously my story that I tell is going to be very different than either of the stories that we read here. Mr. Langton, if you don't mind, if you could share briefly your story, because you'll have a different perspective from the same event, but we all had a different story because we all had different points of view. So I want you to take just a second and think about, and if you want to, please share a time in your lives that something has been difficult or something was really exciting that happened in your life. And think about how that story, how your story would be told. And then think about how somebody else, maybe your parents or your brother, your sister, your best friend, how their story would be different. How that point of view changes the way the story is told. And I invite people to share, please. Nicole. How would somebody else's story be, somebody that was there, how would their story be different? Think about it. Isaiah?
When my dad was trying to do this swim, he just threw me in the pool and then tried to make me do it by myself, and then I started drowning. So he jumped in there and saved me.
So that was probably pretty scary for you, right?
Yeah.
You just threw it in there. How would your dad tell that story?
He would tell it. He would be like, I just teach him the hallway like my dad taught him. That's cool.
He was probably pretty confident that you could do it, right? Even though you were scared?
Well, he threw me in the pool like 3 times after that, and then I started to get it on my own.
Okay. Morgan? So, how would somebody else's story be different that was there?
Like my sister, it'd be like real close because she would see what happened. And I was like close by the fight, so me and my sister, our stories could be a little different.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
Me and my family, we were out the backyard, and I went and rode my bike over to my friend's house because I have the two-seater bike, and I picked up my friend Mary, and we were dancing outside on the trampoline, and she has sugar, she eats sugar, she has a seizure, and then so we didn't know that the icy popsicles, the push-up popsicles had sugar in them, so we gave her one because her mom said she had 1 gram of sugar. So we were on the trampoline just jumping, and then she just had a seizure. Everybody stepped back, and then when we touched her, she just.
Yeah, you seizures are scary.
How do you think she would tell that story?
She must have been scared too.
Do a few more. Yeah.
Well, the day that I wasn't here, well, you know the day that we had our teacher parent conference day, the first day that we had to come to school before we came. The reason why I didn't come is because I had to get my surgery. And when I went in, like, I would just sit there when the doctor was talking, like, when she was going to put the gas and stuff on my face. I was just sitting there like this. And then it was time for me to go in, and I panicked. I was ready to, because they rolled me in on the bed, and I was ready to jump off, but I couldn't do that. But then they said that they were going to put life gas, so I was like, I'm going to be okay. And then they put the life gas, they said, I'm going to turn on the sleeping gas, and I said, I just laughed at that, and then I opened my eyes, and shut up, and all I know is I opened my eyes, and I was like, I was like, Mom, can I come to my surgery now? She's like, but I panicked.
Thank you. What do you think, there's probably a few different points of view that we can take from that, right? There's maybe the doctor's point of view, maybe your mom, right? So those stories compared to the one you told would be completely different, wouldn't they? You just closed your eyes and opened them and the surgery was over. The doctor, though, his story would be that he did the surgery that whole time. I want to get some people that haven't had a chance to share yet. Caleb, tell us about
Like a sad story.
doesn't have to be. It can be a really great story.
Well, when people talk about 9/11, I don't think about it as a bad day because it's on my birthday. Like on 9/11, some people say that you are like a bad kid and stuff, like all that. But I say I'm not a bad kid just because my birthday's on 9/11 doesn't mean I'm bad. But on 9/11, I feel great and everything because it's my birthday and everything. But I don't think about like all the terrorist attacks and everything.
Right. That's a terrific perspective, isn't it? That's a completely different point of view. That's Caleb's birthday. I mean, that's what that day is to Caleb. So that's interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Josh.
Bless you.
And jumped off, and then jumped on my trampoline. Then I bounced off. My cousins would say that was a stupid idea.
Probably. Or
like when my dog had to be put to sleep because he had a disease. My other dog had given him a scratch in his eye, and I was really close to him because when I was a little baby, he really was curious about me and he was nice to me, and we were really good with each other, and I really loved him a lot. And me and my mom were actually really crying a lot because we really loved him.
how many? And that's a good perspective too, because I think a lot of people can share that, right? How many people have had to put down a pet or have had a pet that's passed away? Right, so see, a lot of people share that. And that point of view is something that is going to be similar for all of us, but every story is going to be different, right? You guys seeing how point of view changes how a story is presented? We'll go ahead and do two more. Go ahead.
We got a roller coaster, and now it's close to falling. Let me stand.
I'm sure that was scary. And so you were on the roller coaster with your dad and your sisters, is that? So were they close to falling off, or they just saw you?
Makes them go to sleep and they kill them.
So their perspective is probably going to be, were they nervous?
Something about the money.
Yeah. Or did they think you were okay?
I didn't think I was dead until I was gonna die.
Okay. We're going to wrap up with Herman.
I was like a flop.
Like a shooting happened. Dude down the street. The other dude down the street, one brought out the gun and one brought out the back. And then they would get ready to fight. It was me and my friend who had I had 6 friends. And then we ran in the back of my house and we called the police. And then we were scared and then I kept running back and forth and started to panic.
That sounds pretty intense.
And then I had to
Yeah. So who would have a different point of view in that story than you? Your cousin? What would his story be?
he was just standing there.
Okay. You don't think he was scared of what was going on? Maybe he was used to it? He had seen it before? Okay. Okay, so how, somebody recap for me, how is point of view important to a story? When we read a story, to consider point of view, how does it change if there's purpose maybe? Who wants to take a swing at that? Morgan? Detail, definitely. If we look at this book,